let's actually just explore. We touched it a little bit, but just on the science and the art of programming. For you personally, how much of your programming is done with GPT currently?
None.
None.
I don't use it at all.
Because you prioritize simplicity so much.
Yeah, I find that a lot of it is noise. I do use VS Code, and I do like some amount of autocomplete. I do like a very like feels like rules based autocomplete, like an autocomplete that's going to complete the variable name for me. So I don't have to type it. I can just press tab. Right, that's nice. But I don't want an autocomplete. You know what I hate? When autocompletes, when I type the word for and it like puts like two parentheses and two semicolons and two braces. I'm like, oh man.
Well, I mean, with VS Code and GPT with Codex, you can kind of brainstorm. I find I'm like probably the same as you, but I like that it generates code and you basically disagree with it and write something simpler. But to me, that somehow is like inspiring. It makes me feel good. It also gamifies the simplification process because I'm like, oh yeah, you dumb AI system. You think this is the way to do it. I have a simpler thing here.
It just constantly reminds me of like bad stuff. I mean, I tried the same thing with rap, right? I tried the same thing with rap, and actually I think I'm a much better programmer than rapper. But like I even tried, I was like, okay, can we get some inspiration from these things for some rap lyrics? And I just found that it would go back to the most like cringy tropes and dumb rhyme schemes. And I'm like, yeah, this is what the code looks like too.
I think you and I probably have different threshold for cringe code. You probably hate cringe code. So it's for you, I mean, boilerplate as a part of code. Like some of it, and some of it is just like faster lookup. Because I don't know about you, but I don't remember everything. Like I'm offloading so much of my memory about like, different functions, library functions, and all that kind of stuff. Like the GPT just is very fast at standard stuff, at like standard library stuff, basic stuff that everybody uses.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I mean, there's just so little of this in Python.
Okay.
Maybe if I was coding more in other languages, I would consider it more. But I feel like Python already does such a good job of removing any boilerplate.
That's true.
It's the closest thing you can get to pseudocode, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And like, yeah, sure. If I like, yeah, great, GPT, thanks for reminding me to free my variables. Unfortunately, you didn't really recognize the scope correctly and you can't free that one. But like, you put the freeze there and like, I get it.
Fiverr. Whenever I've used Fiverr for certain things like design or whatever, it's always you come back. I think that's probably closer. My experience with Fiverr is closer to your experience with programming with GPT. Is like you're just frustrated and feel worse about the whole process of design and art and whatever I use Fiverr for. Still, I just feel like later versions of GPT. I'm using GPT as much as possible to just learn the dynamics of it, like these early versions, because it feels like in the future you'll be using it more and more. And so like, I don't want to be like, for the same reason I gave away all my books and switched to Kindle. Cause like, all right, how long are we going to have paper books? Like 30 years from now? Like I want to learn to be reading on Kindle, even though I don't enjoy it as much. And you learn to enjoy it more. In the same way, I switched from, let me just pause. I switched from Emacs to VS Code.
Yeah. I switched from Vim to VS Code. I think similar, but
yeah, it's tough. And that Vim to VS Code is even tougher because Emacs is like old, like more outdated. Feels like it. The community is more outdated. Vim is like pretty vibrant still. So
I never used any of the plugins. I still don't use any.
That's what I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, yeah, you wrote some stuff in Lisp. Yeah.
No, but I never used any of the plugins in Vim either. I had the most vanilla Vim. I have a syntax highlighter. I didn't even have autocomplete. Like these things, I feel like help you so marginally that like, and now VS Code's autocomplete has gotten good enough that like, okay, I don't have to set it up. I can just go into any code base and autocomplete's right 90% of the time. Okay, cool. I'll take it. Right. So I don't think I'm going to have a problem at all adapting to the tools once they're good. But like the real thing that I want is not something that like tab completes my code and gives me ideas. The real thing that I want is a very intelligent pair programmer that comes up with a little pop-up saying, hey, you wrote a bug on line 14 and here's what it is.
Yeah.
Now I like that. You know what does a good job of this? MyPy. I love MyPy. MyPy, this fancy type checker for Python.
Yeah.
And actually I tried, like Microsoft released one too, and it was like 60% false positives. MyPy is like 5% false positives. 95% of the time it recognizes, I didn't really think about that typing interaction correctly. Thank you, MyPy.
So you like type hinting, you like pushing the language towards being a typed language.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think optional typing is great. I mean, look, I think that like it's like a meet in the middle, right? Like Python has these optional type hinting, and like C++ has auto.
C++ allows you to take a step back.
Well, C++ would have you brutally type out std string iterator, right?
Yeah.
Now I can just type auto, which is nice. And then Python used to just have A. Well, what type is A? It's an A.
Yeah.
A:\str. Oh, okay, it's a string. Cool.
Yeah.
I wish there was a way, like a simple way in Python to like turn on a mode which would enforce the types.
Yeah, like give a warning when there's no type or something like this.
Well, no, to give a warning where, like MyPy is a static type checker, but I'm asking just for a runtime type checker. Like there's like ways to like hack this in, but I wish it was just like a flag, like Python 3-T.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Enforce the types at runtime.
Yeah. I feel like that makes you a better programmer. That's a kind of test, right? That the type remains the same.
Well, that I didn't like mess any types up. But again, like MyPy is getting really good and I love it. And I can't wait for some of these tools to become AI powered. Or like I want AIs reading my code and giving me feedback. Mm-hmm. I don't want AIs writing half-assed autocomplete stuff for me.
I wonder if you can now take GPT and give it a code that you wrote for a function and say, how can I make this simpler? And have it accomplish the same thing. I think you'll get some good ideas in some code. Maybe not the code you write for tiny grad type of code, because that requires so much design thinking, but like other kinds of code.
I don't know. I downloaded the plugin maybe like 2 months ago. I tried it again and found the same. Look, I don't doubt that these models are going to first become useful to me, then be as good as me, and then surpass me. But from what I've seen today, it's like someone, you know, occasionally taking over my keyboard that I hired from Fiverr. Yeah. I'd rather not.
Ideas about how to debug the code, or basically a better debugger, is really interesting. I mean,
but it's not a better debugger. I guess I would love a better debugger.
Yeah, it's not yet. Yeah, but it feels like it's not too far.
Yeah, one of my coworkers says he uses them for print statements. Like every time he has to like, just like when he needs, the only thing it can really write is like, okay, I just want to write the thing to like print the state out right now.
Oh, that definitely is much faster. It's print statements. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see myself using that a lot, just like, because it figures out the rest of the functions. Just like, okay, print everything.
Yeah, print everything, right? And then, like if you want a pretty printer, maybe. And like, yeah, you know what? I think in 2 years, I'm going to start using these plugins.
Yeah.
A little bit. And then in 5 years, I'm going to be heavily relying on some AI augmented flow. And then in 10 years.
Do you think you'll ever get to 100% where what's the role of the human that it converges to as a programmer?
Nothing.
So you think it's all generated?
Our niche becomes, I think it's over for humans in general. It's not just programming, it's everything.
So niche becomes, well...
Our niche becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. In fact, I'll tell you what the last niche of humanity is going to be.
Yeah.
There's a great book, and it's, if I recommended Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect last time, there is a sequel called A Casino Odyssey in Cyberspace. And I don't want to give away the ending of this, but it tells you what the last remaining human currency is. And I agree with that.
We'll leave that as the cliffhanger. So no more programmers left, huh? That's where we're going.
Well, unless you want handmade code, maybe they'll sell it on Etsy. This is handwritten code. It doesn't have that machine polish to it. It has those slight imperfections that would only be written by a person.